down to Biscayne.
Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all band. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat, we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor. I'm throwing y'all off. I'm your host, Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan, we're going to recap Jimmy Buckets and the Miami Heat getting the victory over the Chicago Bulls 118-116. With me to do the recapping from Miami Heat Beat. I'll continue to say it forever and ever. It feels weird when I'm on this side of the table. Giancarlo Navas, y'all know him well. Great friend of the show, friend in real life. Thank you for joining us. Welcome. What a game, man. We were texting back and forth heading into this thing, and Jimmy flipped the entire thing on its ear. How you feeling after that crazy knockdown, drag out victory for the Heat?
Relieved that we could come and be happy today. Relieved that they got one. We feel like the cavalry's about to come back. The Highsmith comes back to the lineup today. You feel like they're at the cusp of getting healthy. Christmas Day's around the corner. Big matchup against the Sixers. Relief that they got one at home that you feel like they need to get. But Jimmy shut some dudes up today. That he had a stretch in the game where he actually took over, hit the buzzer beater. I believe I saw Rohan Nadkardi of SI tweet that was his first buzzer beater for the Heat, which is crazy considering how clutch he's been. Yeah. So relieved, happy. I was scared at some point. I felt a lot of emotions. Like
me too. And that leads us right into the aggressive play of the night.
And now it's time for the Insurance by Lynette Play of the Night, sponsored by InsuranceByLynette.com, an aggressive insurance agency. You can reach out to our friend Lynette at 954-581-8800. That's 954-581-8800, or InsuranceByLynette.com. That's InsuranceByLynette.com with 2 N's and 2 T's. Your best play for auto insurance, homeowners insurance, condo insurance, life insurance, or a retirement program. Reach out to Lynette at InsuranceByLynette.com.
So I had 100 different ways this could have gone for the aggressive play of the night, but y'all know where I'm landing. Jimmy Buckets, his former team. Basically, they forego the timeout, G, and Jimmy takes them home. This was not a pretty game. This game felt like death by 1,000 paper cuts, which these damn Heat games have felt like a lot lately. But Jimmy punctuated it with this crazy shot. You alluded to it earlier. It is absolutely the aggressive play of the night. Are we going to start seeing? Okay, let me start here with you, because I haven't had a chance to really talk to you about this. Do you feel Jimmy Butler has played well enough in the last 3 to 4 weeks, in your opinion? Like, is he playing Jimmy Butler level basketball in your eyes?
No, and I don't think it's been close. And I think it's funny because if you look at Miami's lineup data, he is the great elixir, because everybody has bad lineup data until you put them plus Jimmy Butler. Then all of a sudden lineups are plus and happy and wonderful. And it's weird because the advanced metrics are not loving him the way that they've always loved him. The film doesn't love him the way it's always loved him. I feel like he's had some slippage defensively, whether that's him pacing himself or whether that is age showing in an age 34 season coming off a pretty bad ankle injury in the playoffs. However, that will manifest. I don't think he's been a good player. I don't think he's been all-star good, for example. Like, I don't really think he should be in the conversation. Bam,
Agreed.
Obviously the injury took him out, but yeah, I don't think he's been in that conversation. At least in years past, we could be like, man, the games played is not an issue this season. It's his actual like on-court production. But listen, Leif, in April, I think we know where how that man's going to play. It's a question of what is the ceiling of that play going to look like because if what he's doing right now is any indicator, I don't know if it's going to be as high as we've been accustomed to.
And that's scary, right? Because like I'm looking at these. This is how I follow Jimmy. When the numbers are getting noisy, as Ethan calls them, noisy numbers. Check this out. I mean, like if you look back since November 24th at New York, he hasn't had more than 2 steals and blocks. I'm using counting stats, but like when he's doing that cornerback stuff where he's free safety in the defense, pick sixes, doing all that kind of stuff, like that's when you start to see it. Tonight he had 2 steals, so he's getting closer to that. I don't mean that to rain on the Jimmy Butler parade. I'm happy that his arrow is trending up after tonight. I'm happy that also our eyes here at 5 on the Floor have not been basically lying to us, because it has been a weird year for Jimmy because they've stayed afloat. And I thought he'd be the guy that would be missing time, and it ends up being Jimmy and Tyler. The gamer of the night is our next segment. It'd be easy to do Jimmy, but that's not what we're going to do. Let Ethan cue it up for you.
And now on 5 on the Floor, it's time for the Gamer of the Night, sponsored by Rock Esports Center, the place to eat, drink, and play all day. Host your next birthday party with them. Located at 15305 South Dixie Highway in Palmetto Bay. They've got a 5,500 square foot state-of-the-art center equipped with all the high-end power. Play all-day passes available for just $25, but if you mention 5 reasons, it's just $20. So mention 5 reasons or 5 RSN. You get to play all day for $20. And now, the Gamer of the Night.
So y'all think we going Jimmy, but we're not going to be that easy with this thing. Gee, the floor is yours, my friend. Who is the Gamer of the Night? I'm just throwing this at you. You get to pick it and articulate why.
I love it. By the way, shout out to your sponsor, Rock. I frequent there. I play competitive Super Smash Brothers Melee. I have for about 15 years, and they throw locals for Smash Ultimate and Melee on Friday and Saturday respectively. So huge shout out to them. Shout out to John, all those guys, because they're doing great stuff in the community, especially for people like me who loves to compete. So shout out to Rock. Got to give love to the sponsor. Leif, let me tell you something, man. I'm a Kyle Lowry guy, and I'm not going to go Kyle Lowry. Kevin Love with a big 22-7, 6 of 10 from 3, team high plus 19, 1 turnover. Leif, it's not just the shooting, the pick and pop element, just the screening and popping has helped Jimmy so much. That's an element that they have not had since year 1, really, with Leonard and with Olynyk. Yeah. And Miami has not had that kind of shot diet in their repertoire, which I think has been a bit of an issue. Now they have this kind of pick and pop. They do a lot of Spain out of that as well. Duncan Robinson will set the low screen and Kevin will set the high screen. They'll do stuff out of horns where Love pops, and now they have a real shooter. He has been such a godsend, not just in the half court, because I think in the half court, he and Jaquez have just injected a life into them that they so desperately need. But the hit-ahead passes, and again, that's an easy thing to say. It gets them into easy offense. What that does is that it lets Jimmy get those small guys deeper in the post. It lets Jaquez get guys deeper in the thing. They got so much piston action with him, with Kevin Love moving the ball, and Jaquez in piston was getting to the rim almost every time. I love what Kevin has given them. I cannot believe that they got this guy, I mean, for nothing. That Crazy. He was not playing in Cleveland, and now there's conversations in Cleveland about, well, are we going to keep Jared Allen? Which is, Miami's like, Kevin Love has been a godsend. So I got to go K-Love, man. I'm a big fan of his and everything that he's done for them this season.
He has killed it. No Capri Sun anymore, for sure. In 6 games in December, this doesn't include tonight, in 20 minutes, 12, 6, and 3 from Kevin Love, just to get super basic. You mentioned all the pick and pop elements. Him also playing with Duncan in those moments early, I thought helped the offense in general. Shout out to Duncan. He hit his 900th career 3 tonight. Fastest to ever do that past Buddy
in 305 games.
Was it really?
It was 305 games, dude. Retire the jersey.
How fun is that, yo? That is great. I did not know that. See, that's the kind of facts and information you get here on 5 on the Floor. That is so much fun. But Jaime Jaquez, dude, and also Duncan Robinson, 6 assists. Like, we could do a whole damn show
I,
about what Duncan has done looking inward and coming back to this year as a better player. It's unbelievable, and it's unprecedented. So
and
I
he
want to
credited
park.
Kevin. He credited to kind of tie everything together. He credited
Yeah,
Kevin for helping his mental.
I know. And Kevin coming last year, you're so right. Like that, it was an emotional charge to the team. And what's been an even bigger charge, and you alluded to it in your last statement, Jaime Jaquez, dog. Like, what are we doing here with this guy? He sparked a run, and I thought it was going to be the aggressive play of the night, where he got a play on one of the very few fast breaks of the game. These two teams with their no transition plays in general. If you look at the stats on cleaning the glass, it is horrid in
Awful.
transition. Um, I don't even want to go into the raw numbers.
Tonight, Miami had a good game in transition at a 175 offensive rating. Chicago 100, which is awful.
But look at that frequency, though. That's where.
Oh
it gets
yeah, no,
weird.
the 8.8. They're not moving at all, my man.
Exactly. And so, but there was one play where Jaime Jaquez did move, and he had a huge dunk. It sparked what turned into like 13-2 run. The Bulls didn't score in over 5 minutes. This was towards the end of the third quarter, and obviously Chicago changed the complexion of the game, but Jaime was closing late. I ask you, because we talked about the closing lineups Ethan and I did recently, and we both landed, or I don't know that we both landed. It was more me that feels like ultimately the rookie's going to get squeezed in the playoffs. And like when we talk about closing lineups, you'd have to be doing Dwayne level rookie stuff to stay on the court late. Do you disagree with the idea that Jaime probably in year one, and I'm going bigger picture with you for a reason. I don't think our audience gets to hear you every day, so that's why if people are wondering why the heck I'm pivoting, it's because one, we want to be a little loosey goosey, like a little
Saturday.
in general, but also I want to get your perspective on the broader scope here. So Jaquez, you think he closes come playoff time?
I
Short.
think it's gonna depend. So my worry with him is defensively, because I think offensively he does, because Tyler occupies some of the same spots that Jimmy does on the floor. Jimmy wants to get to that kind of mid post area, either slashing, or he wants to kind of get a switch and then bully a guy. Tyler is going to get there, but off a pick and roll, kind of that little zigzag, slither dribble to get to that kind of mid range, that little 12-foot pull up jumper that he's so good at. So they occupy similar spots on the floor. I think Hawkins is really gonna have to earn it over Tyler, and maybe he does. I mean, because it's gonna be Jimmy and Bam, and then it's gonna be kind of a mishmash of who's playing well. Tyler's probably gonna get it because he shoots, but I think defensively, Hawkins and Tyler on the floor together at the end of games is gonna be a little bit kind of. I don't know if Spo's gonna do that kind of thing, because we know that Spo is a defense first kind of guy, and you can hide one of them. Not that Hawkins is a bad defender, but I do think he's not there where you want him in high leverage playoff situations. Even at the end of games, I think sometimes you kind of see it's a foul that he probably shouldn't commit here and there. So I think he does get squeezed, but it might depend. I mean, I think we'll see in the first round, depending on where their seed lands. I think we'll learn a lot from some of those early playoff games.
No, I'm with you there, and I know that on December 16th to talk about playoffs is crazy. It's just when you see this guy ascending and Spo trusting him late in games, I start to wonder if maybe my take was a little premature. And so the guy, every single game he does something new that pops and makes me say, whoa, okay. I didn't think he'd do that this consistently, or I didn't think he'd be this intuitive with it. And so these are just things that I come back to this show to once again reinforce. Jaime Jaquez Jr. is the man. I'm rocking the Heat culture.
Love it.
Jaquez jersey. I don't cop jerseys really these days very often, except to like wear it to the beach and such. And the Jaime Jaquez Heat culture jersey is in effect here. Back to this game, though, a little bit. What the hell is it about the Chicago Bulls and Kobe White? Shout out to Kobe White. I think he'd be a really good fit in Miami for a number of reasons. What is it about the Chicago Bulls team that gave the Heat fits the last 2 games specifically? I mean, is it as easy as to just say point of attack defense? Like, can you point to something like that? What is it? The complacency? What exactly are you seeing that makes this Chicago team a pain in the ass for 2 games straight for Miami?
I think it's two things. I think one of it's point of attack, and I think Caleb is working his way back to being that kind of defender that I think we expect him. And again, I think we should give patience to a guy coming back from injury who is having more of a role on offense right now because again, they're missing 2 starters, Hero, who's a bucket, and obviously Bam, who's giving you 20 plus a night. So Caleb has to step up on the offensive end because he's one of their better kind of self-creators, playmakers, slashers, like their best finisher on the team very quietly. He's been very, very good as a finisher. But yeah, like the point of attack is one issue. Vucevic is another. And Miami, they tried that Jimmy at the 5 because Kevin was getting a little killed defensively. And again, no Bam. You got to play a lot of Kevin Love, Thomas Bryant, Orlando Robinson. That's really stretching your defense. They kind of stopped showing Love. You'll see that the Heat, when Love gets put in a pick and roll, he wasn't really dropping early in the season. They kind of show him high, which means he kind of flashes up at the ball handler to kind of show to let the guy behind the screen recover. They haven't done that as much lately. Now they're just dropping him.
Yep.
They're trusting their guys to kind of fight over the screens and everything. But he's not surviving as much as you'd like, considering all the shooting and quickness Chicago has. And Vucevic, so they go small. They go, okay, well, we're going to go Jimmy at the 5. And Vucevic is killing them. And Jimmy on the other end shot like 3 pull-ups against Vucevic and Spo pulled the plug. Because if Vucevic is going to get you in rotation, and they were zipping the ball around. I mean, you saw early in that fourth quarter, like it was front, swarm, recover, Heat principle since the Spo against Indiana days. That has always been the Miami Heat principle against big men. And front, swarm, recover, rotate, all that. It was not working against Chicago. Jimmy on the other end, it was just pull-up jumper and nothing was going. Spo pulled the plug, put Kevin in. So I think those two things. And then listen, DeMar DeRozan is a good basketball player. I don't know about his playoff sustainability, but for sure, the guy gets to the line, he can hit shots. And like tonight, he's, I mean, what do you have? 18, 20 points in the fourth quarter. Like they had no answer. Jimmy wasn't guarding him, which I thought was interesting. Caleb was guarding him. And that's not a matchup I like for Caleb. I think DeMar can kind of bully Caleb a bit. Yep. And you kind of saw in that
back
fourth quarter.
To the basket.
Yeah, or just like on the fakes, he's just stronger than Caleb. Caleb has to overplay the size. Yeah, the dancing. Caleb been on one of those fakes. I was like, come on, man. But I think it kind of comes down to those two things, Leif. And I just think without Bam, it's just hard. Those are the two things that Bam fixes. Point of attack because of the switching and the big men, which, we know that Bam, locks that down.
Yeah. Reminder, everyone, when we're getting frustrated in these games that I did describe as death by 1,000 paper cuts early in the show, remember that Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero are out, 2 of the top 3 guys on the team. So I think that that's an important note. Thank you for mentioning it, bringing it back to my consciousness, because sometimes it's easy to get really frustrated at a team that ultimately most teams around the league, if you're saying 2 out of the 3 best guys are out, what are you really expecting? To that point, though,
their best player this season has been Bam. So their best player is out because Jimmy has not been their best player in the regular season right now.
100%.
So and Tyler,
7 games.
He was playing lights out as a scorer. So I don't want to talk about his fit or whatever with all that conversation on Twitter, but I mean, he was playing lights out basketball. And I'm telling you, they like his scoring in the half court right about now. Especially in these kind of collapses in the fourth quarter. So they're missing 2 huge pieces.
Are you worried with them missing those pieces that it's too much reliance on Kyle, Kevin, and Jimmy this early for this long? Like, do you think it's sustainable? How do you think that they address that? Do you think how concerned do you perceive them? I know how concerned that they perceive it to me is that they're not concerned. But like from an observer's perspective, particularly one I respect, like, is this sustainable with these vets doing this night after night, particularly Kyle?
We had this conversation on Miami Heat Beat the other day. Actually, Tiffany Meeks, my co-host, she brought it up. She was in the context of Kevin. She's like, I don't know. Kevin's doing a lot. We kind of need him, to be fresh. They want him to be kind of healthy and hitting his stride later, not now. And I don't disagree. I just think that like they're going to get their rest once they get the cavalry back. There's going to be some point in February that Kyle's going to get a couple nights off. Kevin's going to get a couple nights off. These guys are going to get this back. I don't think the minutes, I mean, the other night Kyle played a lot of minutes, but I think both these guys have played like pretty reasonable minutes in this time. And they're playing three centers. Leif, I mean, they're trying to save Kevin. They're playing Orlando and Thomas Bryant. You know, they're playing Jimmy at the 5. You know, if anybody can figure it out, it's Spo. The one that's more difficult is Kyle because they really don't have, particularly with Tyler out, they don't have the second ball handling guard that you trust. I think Drew Smith's injury is like sneaky, pretty devastating for their like regular season aspirations, which I don't think you would have thought.
You're gonna piss people off with
no,
that
but
statement.
they don't listen. And I know, and I wasn't like a huge fan of like what he was doing, but
it's any name that would have been there to your
just
point.
like Josh is not a ball handler. Like I love Josh. Like listen, I covered the team when Josh was around in the locker room. That was my first year covering them. I have an affinity to all those guys, so I love Josh, but he's not that ball handler. He's played very well and as a scorer and everything, but you know, Kyle's really right now the only guard who can handle, and he had back spasms the other night, had to go out there. Didn't have a good game against Charlotte, you know, and it showed. Like that guy should not have played that night. He was not healthy, but he has to. So I think he's going to get some back, you know, somewhere in the season. Obviously, you know, he's 38 years old and, you know, he has spotty regular season production. I think he's been very good this season. I think he's been like, you know, he'll never live up to the contract, which is unfortunate. Yeah. But I think as fans and as like analysts, that's there's cap things and everything, but he's played very well for them, I think. And
hell yeah.
And do you think the availability is important because guys are hurt all over the place, and that's one thing I've always liked about him, even back in his Toronto days. I mean, he played through anything. He'll play through a busted hand. I've seen him play through injuries that he probably shouldn't have played for. And
listen,
so hopefully that they get whole and some of these guys can get some rest on the back end of the season.
It's not exactly the same, and so I don't want to paint it that way completely. But there's connective tissue to what Kyle did the year that they got the top seed, with all of with basically the whole team out and him doing his thing, kind of quarterbacking the deal. Not that he's necessarily doing it that loudly this time around, but he's that one consistent factor.
He's a connector.
Like, yeah, every single game. And so I do think that is something that we probably didn't expect, and he should get a shout out for it indeed. And since we're talking about availability, let's go to the Eric Rubenstein injury report.
And now it's time for the official 5 on the Floor injury report, sponsored by our friend Eric Rubenstein, the personal injury attorney. Born and raised in Lauderdale, Florida, lives in Miami, went to St. Thomas. He's a South Florida guy and a huge Miami Heat fan. But the important thing is he can help you get your money that you deserve when something happens to you. So reach out to our guy, Eric Rubenstein. Again, ericrubenstein.com, or ask about me, I got you, on Instagram. And now, the injury report.
Injury report. Haywood Highsmith made his return. That was good news. Who else came back tonight? He was the only one back. Tyler is probably going to be back Monday, the next game. That's what we're looking like.
That's
there.
Minnesota.
That's who they play.
Yeah.
Thank you for catching me there. I've lost track of the schedule. It's been a crazy.
It all melds. Like, I don't think people, when you cover enough of these teams, everything, you don't even know. I can't even imagine for the guys traveling. I'm sure Anthony Chang one day wakes up and he's like, where am I? Where am I? Ethan could tell you. Ethan's done it longer than anybody.
This is true. And in the big 3 years, it was like a supercharged, I could only imagine, because I was sitting on my couch and I was stressed out. Never mind being on the road with that damn team. Other things about the injury report. I heard 2 days ago, Bam Adebayo was about a week to 10 days away. So that was good news to me. Like basically when we got the news that Tyler was getting close, it was like, and Bam's not far behind him. So hopefully that continues on its way. And
How's
then the
Christmas
team
looking. What do you think for Christmas?
I think he plays Christmas.
That's great news for them because Lord knows Orlando Robinson against Embiid. Yeah.
they're gonna need it, and he's been killing it. I thought he had 20 or something like that in the first quarter in a game. I think it was tonight actually against
They won by this is a true stat. They won by 6,000 points today against
was it
Charlotte.
against Charlotte?
No, they won by 50.
Oh my gosh.
135 to 82.
That's insane. So
now
that's
Terry Rozier was out, like the entire Hornets team was out. But still, I mean, Jesus.
Right. No, that's ugly. The Heat are almost whole. That's the really good news from the injury report that Haywood Highsmith, I don't think he looked great yet. He's still trying to figure his game out. To your point about giving a compassionate concession to a guy like Caleb Martin, we should do the same for Haywood Highsmith, at least for these first couple weeks as he's getting ramped back up. But the Heat are getting closer to being whole. I know that doesn't feel great today, and it didn't feel good yesterday, and it might not feel good in the next game, but they're going to get close to being healthy. So that is good news for the Eric Rubenstein injury report. As we wrap here, final thoughts. One on the 118-116 victory, looking ahead to the rest of December, and just any final parting thoughts. G, it was really dope to have you on the show. But definitely let's chop it up with final thoughts.
I have an important question.
Let's go.
Does Duncan Robinson get the game ball?
Oh man, that's tough.
Or is Jimmy gonna run in the locker room and go take it?
Give me my damn ball.
Go take it.
Well, it's up to Jimmy. Duncan ain't saying
Duncan
shit.
gonna have to buy it from him. Hey, Jimmy.
He do that.
Jimmy's had enough buzzer beaters. You know, Jimmy's won a few games. Let Dunk have this one, man.
That one had to feel good, though. I mean, it was against his former team, and I could sense Jimmy was frustrated. There were some Patrick Williams moments where he was kind of looking like he was over the physicality, etc. And Jimmy Butler kept coming back for more. So that was this was a big night. I'm happy that it happened the way that it did, that the Heat ended up getting the victory, 118-116. Where are you thinking this team lands? Seeding wise, just generally speaking, you don't have to put a number on it. You don't have to put a name on it. How are you feeling? How is G's vibes on the Miami Heat as we close the 5 on the floor post-game show tonight?
So I said this on MHB the other night. The East is separating. You have Boston, Milwaukee, and Philly all within, Boston at the top, and then Milwaukee and Philly tied a game and a half back each. You got Orlando at 3 games back from 1. So Orlando a little separated from them. And then you have the Knicks, Miami, Indiana, and Cleveland and Brooklyn all bunched up together. So 5 through 9. So Miami is clearly in a different statistical standing right now. I think if you're Miami, you're like, we're better than the Knicks, we're better than the Pacers, we're better than Cleveland. And certainly I think you can be better than Orlando, even though Orlando is very scary. That is the team I said in the offseason, if they get Wembanyama, let's just cancel the league because that's over. So if you're Miami, you should aim, your aspiration should be, we should be the 4th seed. You get a home playoff series. We know that the organization and everybody loves home ticket, the extra home game for the ticket prices. That's a big deal. It is. And you get a home series, and then you get, whatever, you prepare for Boston or Milwaukee or whoever's going to be in that 1 seed. Hopefully it's Philly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But so I think they should end up around that 4 spot. If they don't, I think, we're in for a long. I think that asking Jimmy in particular to keep pulling Houdinis out of his headband is just, it's
crazy. They can't do it 2 years in a row.
And he needs to play a little better in the regular season. And I know that he will come February. He did last year. He kind of turned it up, but Leif, the finishing numbers are a little concerning. He's shooting 52% at the rim. That is almost a career worst for him. He shot 64 last year, 63 the year before, 63 the year before, and 62 the year before that. So his entire Miami tenure, he's been very good at the rim. His entire career, really. This is like one of the lowest marks other than his rookie year. I'm a little worried about his defense and about his rim finish. I hope tonight was helpful because you saw him kind of bully switches, which is what you want. Kyle and Duncan, active screeners for him, getting small guys on him, going into that mid post area, getting to the free throw line, the pick and pop, as we talked about with Love. So you kind of saw some of his diet come into play, and his free throw rate is a little lower, but it's still pretty healthy.
Yeah.
But you just want you want to feel more comfortable, and you want to see all that stabilize to a point that you're like, okay, that guy is who I remember on the floor, and then statistically it reflects that.
Agree. I think that having Bam back on the floor, having Tyler back on the floor is going to help some of the numbers normalize, but also get Jimmy some rest, get him ramped up for the second half of the season. I also agree. I think they got to shoot for the 4 seed. I think they can catch Orlando for the division.
I think they can. Yeah,
I
they
think
should.
Orlando is going to be a really tough out, and I think that they're going to be a good regular season team. They may win the division, but they're not like 10 games up, and it's like this ridiculous, like you'd have to run the gauntlet of some crazy luck to get there. I think that the Heat can do it, and they've got all their matchups. Have they played Orlando?
No, they haven't. So they have they play for the first time this
That's
Wednesday.
it.
So that's the first time that they play. That's a big one. I see Orlando is kind of like this year's Sacramento East. It's a very young team. It's all coming together. Extremely talented.
Great
Might be a
comp.
little too young, but I really like their team, by the way. I think that they're going to
Love
be.
Franz.
Yeah, I mean, Paulo is great. I mean, they're just a very that is like the platonic idea of modern basketball. It's cool. They're a really fun team.
Yeah, and also to close on a Heat note, they play and suffer from some of the same things the Heat do offensively, and they hang their hat on many of the things that the Heat organization likes to hang their hat on defensively. We shall see if the Heat can get back to that.
Yeah.
The Magic are up there now, but the Heat got the victory tonight. Jimmy Butler with the clutch buzzer beater. I mean, literally the walk-off buzzer beater, which is appropriate for this show. It is now Jimmy Butler's house. Thank you, G, for joining us. Thank you for joining 5 on the Floor. Have a great night.